What's up, Dallas?
Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Frontline Prescription. Please welcome, from the great state of Texas, Congressman Ronny Jackson, U.S. Marine and ER Doctor Rich McCormick, and your host, Center for Secure Free Society, Joseph Humire.
What's up, Dallas? It's great to be in Texas, and it's especially great to be at CPAC. It's a special privilege to share the stage with these two outstanding leaders who are not only veterans of the U.S. Armed Forces, Navy, Marine Corps, hoorah, but they're also physicians that have literally saved lives. So I think we need to begin by giving them a round of applause to both of you for your service in both uniforms and scrubs. So here's the deal. I want to get you guys involved because we got a serious situation. We're going to a place that both of you know, been before. We're going to the emergency room. Here's the deal. We're in the emergency room, and we have a patient in critical condition. And we only have 20 minutes to save her. After 20 minutes, you all, the audience, are going to let us know if we have saved this patient. The patient is the United States of America. And she's been through quite a lot in the last couple years. Her caretaker, let's give him a name. Let's just say he's called Brandon. Brandon has somehow managed to let all the world's problems manifest at the same time. And here's a diagnosis. Our patient, America, has a constant migraine that comes in the form of a reinvigorated Islamic Republic of Iran, who is not only determined to get a nuclear bomb, they're telling us that they will turn New York City into ruins once they have it. But that's not it. Our patient also has cancer that comes in the form of a former KGB agent who thinks the Cold War never ended and has brutally and viciously invaded a sovereign nation in an effort to reestablish the Russian Empire. But it gets worse. Our patient has also been infected with a virus. You know what virus I'm talking about. It's called the China virus. And it's not just COVID-19, but a virus from Beijing that is actively infiltrating and subverting America by buying more than 350,000 acres of American farmland and installing Huawei cell towers near U.S. military bases throughout the Midwest, no doubt as a deterrent to a forthcoming invasion of Taiwan. But there's also one more thing. Our beloved America, our beloved patient, has an open wound. She's bleeding, and it's bad. The wound is on the U.S. southern border, which is beyond a crisis. It's a catastrophe, with a record-setting 1.7 million encounters and apprehensions in 2021 alone, the highest ever in recorded history, and is literally stealing our national sovereignty. Meanwhile, Brandon, he has no idea what to do, and he's wandering around the hospital looking for a same-sex bathroom. So we're going to go to you, Dr. Ronny Jackson, Congressman Jackson, Dr. McCormick. Congressman Jackson, what do we do?
Well, Rich and I are going to do our best to resuscitate this patient, right? But the first thing we have to do is we have to get rid of the medical team that let this patient get into this position and mismanaged them, right? We got to get rid of the Biden administration. What we have to understand is that the team that's in charge of this patient now that let this patient get to where it's at, they don't see Russia, China, Iran. They don't see them as the enemy. They see the American people. They see the conservative movement. They see us and the freedoms that we enjoy every day as the enemy. So we have to replace that medical team with a competent medical team, one that's not cognitively impaired and one that's competent to do the job. And we're going to start doing that. The first thing we're going to do, the first prescription I'm going to write is to get as many hard-charging conservatives in Congress to help me fight the fight. And it starts right here with Rich McCormick.
Dr. McCormick, how do we revive the patient?
One of the problems we do is we keep on turning for the wrong answers. We think that the doctor is the government. The government gets in the way of your care. It gets in the way of taking care of America. I believe you, the people, are the answer to our problems. I believe that empowering the people over the government, this is a Reagan-esque type of idea that we are the answer to our own problems. If we get the government out of the way, if we stop treating with the wrong antibiotics, stop treating with the vaccination, when we start treating with things that don't work and start treating with the things that do work, let the human body do its thing, which is empower the people to get healthy again.
Well, we're well on our way in 2022 to help revive our patient. But I got more bad news. We found blood clots. We found several blood clots in the arms and legs of our patient, and they're in the veins of what is called Venezuela and the Bolivarian Revolution that, along with Cuba, Bolivia, and now other countries in Central and South America, are going Marxist. They're going full communist, and they're beginning to create crises that's flooding our U.S. southern border. Tomorrow, in Colombia, which is one of the top U.S. partners in the entire hemisphere, tomorrow a Marxist former terrorist leader will be inaugurated as president of that country. 1 week later, Colombia's neighbor, Venezuela, is going to host the largest Russian army games in its history, what Russia calls the War Olympics, inside Venezuela, where the special operation teams of Russia, Iran, China, and 13 other countries will, for the first time in history, be training together in the Western Hemisphere. So what does that mean? What does that mean for us as Americans? That means we're losing our neighborhood. We are losing Latin America. Congressman, Doctor, how do we reverse this trend? This is, we have problems all throughout the world, but nothing may affect us more than our own neighborhood where we live.
Well, the first thing we got to understand is that the rest of the world sees incredible weakness right now in the United States, and that's a shame, but I've seen it firsthand. I'm on foreign affairs, I'm on armed services, I've traveled a lot just since I've been in Congress, traveled much more before I got into Congress, but just got back from the Munich Security Summit not too long ago. Then I went on an Indo-Pacific tour with some members of the Senate, and the first thing I noticed was that our allies do not believe in us anymore. They do not believe that if push comes to shove that we will be there to support them. And it started, obviously, state the obvious, it started in Afghanistan with the debacle there. It was a huge embarrassment for our country, and we didn't recover from it. And it continues to get worse and worse every time our president, President Biden, gets up on stage and embarrasses the country. And I think that, we first off, we have to regain some of that back. We have to get the confidence back, and our allies have to believe in us. The other thing that's terrifying right now, and it's happening on our southern border, but it's happening all over this country, and it involves Iran and China and Russia and everything else, is our adversaries, they don't fear us anymore. They literally see this administration as a window of opportunity to get as much as they can possibly get from us before Joe Biden is no longer in office. And so that's happening on our southern border as well. And you talked about these Marxist, these Marxist governments that are forming. And I will tell you right now, we got a big problem here. We have Marxists in our Congress right now. The far left, Tlaib, Omar, Presley, Cori Bush, AOC. These people have a Marxist communist ideology, and they are controlling our government right now. They are dictating what's happening in the White House every single day. And so we have to police ourselves. We have to get rid of these people. We have to elect some good, strong, hard-charging conservatives that can overcome the influence that they have right now. We got to get the House back, we got to get the Senate back, and we got to get the White House back to save this country.
And we will. I think it's important to realize that the first foreign policy thing that Biden did was pull out of Afghanistan in the worst possible way. I myself was the head of emergency medicine in Kandahar in 2016. I've witnessed friends die. I've watched people have their limbs blown off. I've seen people spend years away from their family. And all that was thrown away in just a couple days. When you have somebody who does not care at all about how we feel as military veterans, does not care about the sacrifices we made as a nation, does not care about what is right, but only what's politically expedient, we have a leadership problem that's almost, well, it is solvable. You guys are going to solve this in just a couple of months. And I'm really excited about that. And we are going to take back the House, by the way. And this is a record number of veterans running this year. And I think if you know one thing about veterans, you know that they've done something in their life that wasn't about themselves, something that was for something bigger than themselves. And I thank God for those brothers and sisters.
I want to pivot back to the border a bit because I think we're here in Texas. And so I spent some time on another border, the Colombia-Venezuela border. This is the most dangerous border in the Western Hemisphere. And our border is heading in this direction. It started with mass migration. More than 6 million Venezuelans have left that country since 2014, over-flooded that border. That went into a conflict of irregular illicit actors, drug cartels, narco-terrorists fighting amongst each other for control of territory, creating unprecedented levels of violence on the border. But I was at that border last year, and what I saw was Russian drones, Iranian mercenaries, Chinese satellites. That border has become the epicenter of a great power conflict that's manifesting itself in other parts of the world. If you pay attention, that's what's happening to our southern border.
Well, I'll just add to that. I'll say that, look, you got to look at what's happening on our southern border. It's just another ploy by the Chinese, by the Russians, by all of our adversaries to bring us down. They're using our southern border too, right? I mean, we talked about, the crisis overseas and, China potentially becoming aggressive with Taiwan. That's about to happen before this administration's over, and that's going to be a huge, huge problem for our country. We got Russia and Ukraine. We got Iran on the brink of getting a nuclear weapon. We have all these issues that are out there, but they are simultaneously, they are using our southern border to destroy us from the inside out. They've been doing it for a long time. The Chinese are dumping massive amounts of fentanyl into the border. They're using the drug cartels, the Colombians and the Mexican drug cartels to help them do this. They're all working together. They control our southern border. We don't control our southern border. They control our southern border. And right now, the #1 cause of death in this country between the ages of 18 and 40 is overdose, is fentanyl overdose right now. And that's by design. They are destroying us from the inside out. They are destroying an entire generation of our youth. And this is just a multi-pronged attack on us. Our country is under attack right now, and our southern border is a big part of it. And it's not just the drugs. We're having record numbers of people crossing the border that we don't even know about. I mean, it's bad enough that we're having 2-3 million a year right now that are crossing, that are just giving themselves up. But we have these gotaways that we see on camera, and there's 500,000 to 1 million of them a year that are crossing our border. Those are people that want to do us harm. Those are people that want to bring drugs and crime into this country, and those are potential terrorists that are going to come back and they're going to do something to us like they did on 9/11, and it's going to be President Joe Biden and his watch. They're going to be responsible for what happens in the future. But mark my word, we have some bad people crossing our border right now, and we better do something about it.
How many legal immigrants do we have out there right now? Let me hear you. Legal immigrants. People from Colombia, from Venezuela.
Mexico,
anywhere else like that. The people I see that are the most angry about what's happening are those people who did it right. And what we keep on doing, you want to talk about treating a patient, you don't reward the bad behavior, you reward the good behavior. Right now, we are literally putting people who break the law in front of the people who follow the law. We're going to start with enforcing laws we have, enforcing the border we have, having a sovereign border. And let me tell you, as an ER doctor, and I still work night shifts regularly, some nights I have up to 5-6 overdoses in one night. Dead kids are coming in, 17-year-old, a 36-year-old, one night. It is a serious problem and that's just the tip of the iceberg. For every one person I see that dies, you have probably 1,000 people out there with a severe problem that's affecting their family, and this is coming from the southern border. And let's talk about child trafficking. Tens of thousands of women and boys being brought across the border who are being raped as they're coming across, who are being put into basic slavery. These are the problems that have not been addressed, and the hypocrisy to say that we're going to bring these people across the border, by the way, with some of them incurable diseases that you treat at $1 million per pop per year per hospital. And they cut the line also. If you don't think we're giving free health care to illegal immigrants on a regular basis, you're absolutely wrong. And it's a dirty little secret that's not so secret in the hospital system, and they're stepping in line in front of you and me and anybody else who pays his taxes.
So one thing I want to mention about the fentanyl crisis, because you both have touched on it, and I should mention our patient is being poisoned, because that's actually more than just overdoses, right? Because there's cases of people that take fentanyl for the first time, and then they're pretty much almost dead, or they go to the ER, or some cases they die. And that's not an overdose. That's essentially just basically you eliminated the gateway drug. How bad is the fentanyl crisis here in the United States? You guys are in the hospitals, or at least, Rich, you're still working in the ER. Are you seeing this on a daily basis? On a daily basis, multiple overdoses. We are seeing a record number last year of fentanyl overdoses. Over 70% of the people who are dying from fentanyl directly. It takes less than you can even see to really kill you. You're seeing police officers who accidentally get exposed to it, who go into arrest, who we have to give Narcan to. It's affecting the whole culture of the United States. Look, we're going through the 70s all over again, folks. You're seeing it, the beards, the long hair, the opioid overdoses, runaway energy costs, proxy war with Russia, hatred of the military, hatred of the police. There is no doubt in my life that this is the time to act right now. Right, we take back Congress in record numbers, and we put it right where there's wrong right now. Congressman Jackson, you've been in the White House a long time. You've seen many presidents. You've seen many presidents go through all kinds of stress. Have you seen a situation, I know you're not in the White House today,
right.
You can't make a diagnosis, but just from your experience, do you see anything that worries you in terms of how the president's being emitted on television, in speeches, and the few times that he does appear publicly, because frankly he doesn't do it that often? Do you see something with your background and experience that we should pay attention to?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I see something. I was talking about this when he was candidate Joe Biden, when I was running for office as well, over 2 years ago. And, I know exactly what it takes both physically and mentally to do that job. I was there for 14 years. I worked as a White House physician for 3 administrations, took care of 3 presidents. So I know exactly what's required to do that job. This man is not up for the job. He was not up for the job the day he took the job. To be honest with you, the day he became the nominee, he was not up for the job. And you can see, he doesn't know where he's at. He doesn't know what's going on. He shuffles when he walks. He slurs his speech. He's got this blank stare. He's got physical manifestations and certainly cognitive issues, or mental manifestations that he has a serious cognitive issue related to his age. He is not fit to be our commander-in-chief, our head of state, and the leader of the free world. He's not, right? And I tell people all the time, I tell people, there's a lot of jobs out there that you can do where you can still do an okay job and it's still acceptable if you're not 100%. The President of the United States is not one of those jobs. Get this man out of office. Put somebody in who can do the job, for crying out loud.
So we only have a couple minutes left. The good news is our patient's going to survive. Our patient's it's going to be a recovery. It's going to take a few months, and it actually might take a couple years before she's back on her feet. But here's the news. The current leadership that we have in the White House and in the United States, and Congress and other places, is emitting the largest sign of weakness that I've ever seen in my history. And we're not the only ones paying attention. The world is watching. Russia invaded Ukraine because they knew that nothing would happen. China is pretty much telegraphing that they're going to invade Taiwan. Venezuela is weaponizing migration and collapsing all the borders up into the U.S. southern border. In the remaining time that we have, we know our patient is going to survive. What do we need to change in 2024 once we have a new Congress and a new President of the United States?
Well, I'll tell you, Joe, the reason our patient's going to survive is we just got news that we're getting a new head physician. It's going to be Donald J. Trump. He's showing up at the head of the bed. He's going to have an army of competent doctors and nurses that are going to be at his side taking care of this patient. We're going to resuscitate this patient, I promise you. We're going to get them back, and they're going to be stronger than ever. But the first thing we have to do is we have to get leadership in the White House. We need somebody that our adversaries are going to fear. And we haven't had anybody since we had Donald J. Trump in office that they feared. They knew if they crossed the line, there were going to be consequences. We have to have that back. We cannot be the leader of the free world anymore unless we have good, strong leadership, unless we carry a big stick. And that's why we need our president back. That's why we need Donald J. Trump back in office.
And I'll add one more thing. We were Marines, we were Navy, and I'll tell you one of the things that they're doing is emasculating our military the same way they did to our schools and our businesses right now. We have to win back the military fight. We need to bring up warriors to put death down range, to destroy bad places. That's what we're about. The CRT that I grew up with was the combat readiness test. That's the only CRT that matters, and that's what we get back to.
Absolutely. What do you think, Dallas? Are we on our way? By a round of applause, are we on our way to saving our patient? Are we on our way to saving America? And are we on our way to reviving the greatness of the United States? God bless you. Thank you, Dallas. Great to be with you.
We're going to get our country back, I promise.